and experienced flight instructors' poor decisions are catching up with him fast. Now, he's trapped above the clouds, flying VFR, and without the equipment to get his passengers back to safety.
At high altitude, your body doesn't really have enough oxygen, and really the scary part is that you might not even notice, or loss of control, or just far worse.
How did this trusted flight school owner end up with no way out? In this video, we'll investigate the questionable choices that led to the disaster of November 593 Mike Sierra. It's Saturday, October 13th, 2018. A typical rainy mid-autumn day in Connecticut. A low-pressure system off the coast brings clouds of precipitation from Canada down through West Virginia. At Danbury Municipal Airport, November 593 Mike Sierra, a twin-engine Piper PA-34 Seneca II, touches down. The pilot is an instructor and owner of a flight school in nearby Oxford. This PA-34 is part of its fleet. The stop at Danbury is brief. He's there to pick up his private pilot student and another passenger before flying to Charleston Executive Airport in South Carolina. The METAR reports a ceiling of 4,100 feet and a narrow temperature dew point spread. Similar conditions exist along much of the planned route. But the Seneca is a capable aircraft, equipped with de-icing boots and full IFR instrumentation, making it suitable for this mission. Shortly after departing Danbury at 10:25 a.m., 3 Mike Sierra calls up departure control while climbing through 2,700 feet.
Approach, this is a Seneca 593 Mike Sierra with you, departing Danbury Airport, requesting flight following.
593 Mike Sierra, squawk 0237 and ident.
Despite the cloud layers above, the pilot is intent on flying VFR. He gives the controller his destination and on-course heading of 219 degrees.
And 3 Mike Sierra, what's going to be the final altitude today?
593 Mike Sierra will be at 8,500.
Roger.
Climbing to clear skies above the clouds while maintaining VFR is legal, if he can maintain required distances from clouds. However, current weather reports don't suggest any gaps in the cloud deck. As the pilot climbs in search of blue skies, he's handed off to the next sector's controller.
New York departure, this is 593 Mike Sierra with you at 9,200.
What altitude are you climbing to?
11,500.
The pilot has decided to increase his target altitude by 3,000 feet. However, for a magnetic course between 180 and 359 degrees, VFR flights must cruise at even thousands plus 500 feet, unless otherwise authorized by ATC. 11,500 is an incorrect altitude for the direction of flight, and ATC has not authorized this deviation. This turns out to be the least of the pilot's issues. It's evident that 3 Mike Sierra has entered instrument meteorological conditions while under visual flight rules. At 10:38 a.m., he asked the controller for the cloud tops.
Approach, do you know what the cloud tops are? This is 593 Mike Sierra.
I do not have a tops report.
Copy.
Despite having no assurance of reaching clear skies, the pilot climbs through 12,500 feet. This altitude is important. Federal Aviation Regulation 91.211 requires pilots of unpressurized airplanes to use supplemental oxygen if they spend more than 30 minutes above 12,500 feet. This is to prevent hypoxia, a dangerous lack of oxygen in the blood. The higher a pilot climbs, the more dangerous the effects of hypoxia become. For most people, this starts with subtle symptoms like dizziness, difficulty concentrating, and slower reaction times. As altitude increases, these symptoms can quickly escalate to confusion, poor decision-making, and eventually unconsciousness. ATC does not know whether 3 Mike Sierra has oxygen on board. Confused by 3 Mike Sierra's ever-increasing altitude, now 14,000 feet and climbing, ATC checks in.
November 3 Mike Sierra, what are you climbing to now?
593 Mike Sierra, we're just climbing up another 1,000 feet to be VFR on top.
The departure controller grows increasingly concerned. VFR on top requires an IFR clearance, something 3 Mike Sierra hasn't been granted. Now that the aircraft is above 14,000 feet, the pilot is required to use supplemental oxygen continuously. Departure calls up Boston Center on the landline to brief them on the situation and ask for any cloud tops reports.
And it's November 593 Mike Sierra, PA-32, landing at JCI. He told me he's stopping at 12.5. He's still climbing there.
Of course. And I'm sure he's VFR too.
Yeah.
I got a TOPS reported by American 190, and I had one at 15, right where that 3 Mike Sierra is. It's also IMC. He hasn't come over yet, though.
15, you said?
19 for the TOPS.
Oh, okay. 19.
Departure informs 3 Mike Sierra of the reported cloud tops and hands them off to Boston Center. It takes the controller 2 transmissions and a frequency correction to get the airplane switched over. After checking in, the controller questions whether the airplane is still in VMC.
And 3 Mike Sierra, just be advised, right where you are, right at your altitude, I've had numerous reports that it's currently IMC. Just confirm that you are VFR, VMC conditions.
593 Mike Sierra, we are VMC, trying to maintain VMC. Could you vector us? We're VMC. We have an unreliable artificial horizon right now.
3 Mike Sierra, roger. And look, you said you don't have your IMC done?
We are in and out of IMC and VFR.
3 Mike Sierra, I'm gonna have to see if I can find some VFR conditions. At this point, I'm gonna declare an emergency on your behalf.
Now, 3 Mike Sierra has yet another problem. Not only are they in instrument conditions, but the attitude indicator is malfunctioning. With a failing gyroscopic system, maintaining level flight in IMC becomes extremely difficult. The pilot might have to rely solely on airspeed and altitude for pitch control, and the turn coordinator for roll. The situation has escalated into a full-blown emergency. The airplane is now climbing through 16,000 feet. Above 15,000 feet, all occupants on board must be provided oxygen as the effects of hypoxia are severe. Meanwhile, the controller attempts to assist the pilot by vectoring him toward better weather.
In November 3 Mike Sierra, I do have some VFR conditions. You can start a left turn to a heading of 300, and I have VFR conditions reported below 10,000.
Copy. Left turn 330. Left turn 330.
And 3 Mike Sierra, it's left turn to a 300.
300.
30 seconds later, the controller notices the aircraft hasn't started its turn.
3 Mike Sierra, are you able that left-hand turn?
Negative right now.
Okay, November 3 Mike Sierra, I'm showing you in a slow right-hand turn. Are you turning to the right then?
We are maintaining straight and level. We do have the sun above us, and we're using the sun as...
The controller attempts to get 3 Mike Sierra on course, but the pilot is fixated on climbing higher.
And 3 Mike Sierra, the Westchester Airport is a 300 heading from you right now, basically 180 degrees. If you start a maybe a standard rate turn, either left or right for 1 minute, that's just point right towards it.
Tower, could you tell us what the tops are on the clouds?
3 Mike Sierra, last report I had in that area was around flight level 190.
Copy. We are going to climb to 190.
3 Mike Sierra, roger, and understand that under the emergency you're climbing to 190, roger.
At 18,000 feet, the aircraft enters Class A airspace, where all aircraft must be on an IFR flight plan. The pilot reports they are now VFR on top, and requests vectors to where the clouds are clear. He does not want to descend into the overcast.
November 3 Mike Sierra, if you would start a turn towards the west, but at least going to put you in the direction of where the weather is going to be better.
Copy. Turning west, 593 Mike Sierra.
November 3 Mike Sierra, I see you still heading to the southeast. Are you able to start a turn to the west at all or no?
No, we are starting to the west.
As the aircraft reaches 19,400 feet, the pilot's heading control becomes even more erratic.
And 3 Mike Sierra, it looks like you're sort of turning pretty sharply. I'm in a descent turning. Can you try to maintain wings level or...
We're in a descent, 5 Mike.
November 3 Mike Sierra, say again. Looks like you're in a sharp descent. If you can just try to level those, the wings using the turn inside. November 3 Mike Sierra, Boston.
We're descending.
3 Mike Sierra, if you can try and use the turn coordinator just to level the wings. November 3 Mike Sierra, Boston Center. November 3 Mike Sierra, Boston Center.
At 10:58, the controller's scope shows a dramatic drop in altitude before November 593 Mike Sierra disappears from radar off the coast of Long Island. Witnesses in Quogue, New York, see the airplane impact the ocean. There are no survivors. How could a flight instructor with an ATP certificate and 4,000 hours of experience lose control so quickly? It's now up to investigators to find out. Witnesses near the crash site reported seeing the airplane nosedive from the clouds into the ocean. One described the sound as like a stunt plane doing spins before hearing a pop and seeing metal debris fall from the sky. A recovery team salvaged as much of the wreckage as they could on the day of the accident. About 5 weeks later, divers retrieved the left wing, engine, and propeller. Some parts of the aircraft were never found.
Recovering wreckage from the ocean is incredibly challenging. Salt water accelerates corrosion, you've got a strong current that can scatter the debris all over a wide area. Also, missing key components that are going to make it harder for investigators to put together exactly what happened during the event. They often have to rely on what they can recover, which also combined with, radar data, ATC recordings, and eyewitness accounts is going to help them figure this out.
One of the earliest and most critical errors was the pilot's decision to depart VFR despite widespread IMC. As an experienced instructor, he should have known the risks of flying without an IFR clearance in deteriorating weather conditions. Investigators found no record of him obtaining a weather briefing on the day of the accident, and when they asked fellow instructors about his habits, they revealed he was likely neither instrument current nor proficient. A witness noted they never saw him practice IFR skills.
Flying VFR into IMC is probably one of the most dangerous mistakes that a pilot can make. Without any visual reference, even seasoned pilots can be disoriented within seconds. It's not really just about the experience, it's also about currency and proficiency. So if you're not really sharp on your instrument skills, you have really no business being in the clouds.
One pilot said, a broken ceiling to him was just that, broken, and he would find a hole to climb through. He disliked being vectored by the New York controllers and preferred to fly on top. In other words, the pilot had a long history of flouting federal regulations. Another factor in the crash was the attitude indicator issues the pilot reported to ATC. Partial panel flying in IMC is incredibly challenging, even for experienced pilots. Without proper instrument readings, spatial disorientation becomes a major threat.
Imagine being in a cloud with no visual cues and then losing your primary instrument that's going to tell you which way is up. That's pretty much what happens when your attitude indicator fails. Unless you're proficient in flying partial panel, it's pretty much almost impossible to maintain control. A spatial disorientation will set in very quickly, and then you might not even realize that you're in a bank or in a dive until it's far too late.
Investigators wanted to examine the vacuum system and gyroscopic instruments to see if a mechanical failure had occurred. Unfortunately, when divers recovered the vacuum system from the ocean, it was too corroded to draw definitive conclusions. However, instructors at his flight school stated the pilot was aware of issues with the system and would just compensate for it. Former colleagues described his maintenance practices as sloppy, with one accident resulting from his poor work as an A&P mechanic. For weeks, pilots who rented 3 Mike Sierra noted its heading indicator gave unreliable readings and had to be adjusted every 10 minutes. While some precession is normal for analog heading indicators, one pilot was so uncomfortable with the drift that they wouldn't fly it in instrument conditions. Another renter reported that one of the airplane's 2 vacuum systems had been inoperative several weeks before the crash, and the accident pilot, who was also the owner-operator, knew this. The accident pilot should not have taken 3 Mike Sierra anywhere near clouds. Flying through layer after freezing layer up to 19,000 feet showed an extreme lack of judgment. Investigators found no evidence of oxygen canisters or cannulas on board, nor any oxygen equipment in the pilot's hangar.
Hypoxia is what I would call a silent and deadly threat. At high altitude, your body doesn't really have enough oxygen, and really the scary part is that you might not even notice. Now, you could feel euphoric or you could feel unusually calm, but in reality, your judgment is just impaired and your reaction time is going to slow down. You might even lose consciousness in some cases. At 19,000 feet, those effects are greatly magnified. It's like being drunk, but also without any awareness that you're impaired. The failure to use the supplemental oxygen that is given to you or that you have access to will likely contribute to either a loss of control or just far worse. Now, if you go to Sun and Fun or at AirVenture in Oshkosh, I would recommend that you go visit the FAA booth. They have a high altitude chamber where you can discover your symptoms for hypoxia. I've done it multiple times, and I always love just kind of seeing what it feels like to be hypoxic.
After climbing above 14,000 feet, supplemental oxygen is immediately required to avoid the effects of hypoxia. By 19,000 feet, the altitude this flight reached, cognitive and motor abilities degrade rapidly. Hypoxia is subtle. Its symptoms often go unnoticed until it's too late. The failure to use supplemental oxygen likely contributed significantly to the pilot's loss of control. To many of the pilot's associates, this was just one error in his long history of disregarding aviation laws. According to witness statements, he once flew a seaplane from Alaska without extensive training and drilled a hole in the fuel cap without approval for in-flight refueling. Witnesses also stated that he sometimes flew without airworthiness certificates and falsified logbook entries. His certificates, both pilot and mechanic, had been suspended in the past. A former flight school employee said, "Everyone kept saying, it's not a matter of if, but when it came to the accident pilot. But no one really wanted to do anything about it." The NTSB concluded that the accident was caused by the instructor's decision to conduct and continue a visual flight rules flight into instrument meteorological conditions with the known instrument anomaly, which resulted in spatial disorientation, causing a loss of airplane control and subsequent in-flight breakup. Contributing to the accident were the instructor's lack of recent instrument flight experience and degraded airplane control and decision-making due to hypoxia. Sadly, this disregard for aeronautical discipline resulted in the loss of 2 innocent lives. Fly safely, and thanks for watching.